It is mid-August and I'm in sunny Nuuk, Greenland.
This is one perfect day in Greenland. After seeing it from my window across many transatlantic flights, I'm finally realizing my dream of visiting this mystical country. With United's historic new route, I'm able to fly a monster one-way journey from LA across the Atlantic to Greenland and onward to Europe. And then my final destination? Seoul. I'll have an amazing 24-hour layover to explore Nuuk, the capital, to sightsee, learn, and taste the culture of this place, and you're coming with me on my first ever recorded travel video. I'm Youngmi. I solo travel to 127 countries, all while working a full-time office job by maximizing my vacations and points. And now I'm finally on YouTube to take you along for the journey. Welcome to the adventure.
Prepare for landing.
Today we are in Nuuk, the capital of Greenland, an entire country of only 56,000 people with 20,000 in the capital. This is Greenland in maps that we've learned, but this is actually the size of Greenland, but it's still a massive country. Long gone are the Inuit hunter-gatherer days, and the vast majority of people are actually in permanent settlements, mostly in the western coast of the country. Check out my other flight experience video how I flew United Newark to Nuuk. Exiting the airport, the large bus shuttle to the city was waiting for our flight. It was 13 euros, but I waited in a taxi line instead, but there weren't many taxis. There's a city bus that's cheap, but timing isn't ideal, so I finally got a taxi, and it was a 10-minute, 3-kilometer meter trip for around $21 to my guest house in the city center. Welcome to Greenland. Nothing's very budget here. I take my first glimpse of Greenland. It feels oddly familiar, yet slightly different than the Faroe Islands I visited 2 years ago. The terrain and the weather are strikingly similar, as well as the Danish infrastructure. In case you didn't know, Greenland, as well as Faroe Islands, is a territory of Denmark. Now, Hotel Centro in the heart of the center was clutch. Hotel prices here are around $200 a night, and I found this gem. It's small, basic, and has a shared bathroom, but it's cozy, and there were Filipino migrant workers who lived there full-time, which was fascinating. And check this out, unlimited glacial water. I was super tired from my trip, so I actually just slept hard. So I got up bright and early, more like gloomy and early, but the rain sounds were lovely. So I hope you enjoy the ASMR. It's morning, but still, the peace and quiet is striking. I see Greenlanders and also foreigners out and about, walking in the rain to work. Leaving the homeless zombie war zone of downtown LA, the noises, the stress, the tension were all gone. Nuuk is a very small city, so everything is walkable and you can see the whole city in one day. Next to this quaint little church is the statue of Hans Egede, and we'll climb up there just out of pure curiosity. There's another viewpoint listed on Google Maps, but this turned out to be the best view, and not sure why it's not highlighted as a viewpoint landmark on Google. There were other tourists here who walked down the treacherous, wet, and rocky cliffs, but Daddy Hans has the best view in town, so definitely mark this place on your map. Now, who is this man? Hans Egede was a Norwegian missionary who arrived here in 1721 and established Gottorp, now known as Nuuk, as a trading settlement with Denmark, as well as evangelizing throughout the country. The majority of the population is Christian now, but before that, they practiced a traditional animistic religion centered on shamanism, believing in spirits in nature and animals.
It's 7 a.m. here, it's 7 p.m. here, it's 12 p.m. You just don't know, because it's summertime and the sun sets at 10:30 here. Rain, snow, sun, you'll get it all, even in prime mid-August summer. So yesterday was bright and beautiful, and I wake up today and it's Greenland weather.
I come back down and walk towards the coast where I see this legend who will be on my flight onward to Europe later.
What?
Apparently this is a popular cold plunge spot with tourists, even though there are literally glacial ice still floating in the waters. Next, I walk along the pier and I find there's an extensive network of water taxis here for locals and tourists to see the city, as well as to transport to other settlements, along with glacier, whale watching, and even northern lights tours. But none of the offices or stores here were open at the time, and I'm not messing with getting splashed with glacial water along with the icy wind, so instead, I watched a group of locals head off somewhere, maybe to work or home, I don't know. And I would just imagine, back in the day, when they set off on canoes and paddle for days, when they would come back and with what kind of hunting prize. And here's just a piece of glacier ice floating in the water. And now we get to the Boardwalk, which offers amazing nature views. It's around 300 meters, so it takes 10 minutes to walk, but you'll definitely enjoy the views here and take your time, including seeing a seagull sardine feeding frenzy. You have planes out and about, water taxis, there's just so much going on. Definitely set some time to walk here. I take a nice little stroll and start thinking about things, including the local language. Kalaalleq, or Greenlandic, a unique Inuit language, has been spoken here by the indigenous people for over 1,000 years, evolving from the Katuaq culture. The language continued even during centuries of Danish colonialism, but in 1953, Greenland became a territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, and Greenland was forced to Danify. Luckily, a strong movement for the language came in 2009, where Kalaalleq was declared the country's sole official language. Today, the statistics are impressive for an indigenous language. Approximately 85 to 90% of Greenland's total population speaks Greenlandic, which makes sense as the rest would be Danes and other foreigners. In Nuuk, the capital, lots of people are bilingual, with babies even learning English these days. And in the country, 70% only speak Kalaalleq, which makes me so nerdy and happy. This is an amazing linguistic success story, and I hope other colonial areas can learn from Greenland. It may be cold for me, but for that dog, he is built different, so he's probably even sweating right now. After finishing the boardwalk, I headed back to the city center, and I came across the projects. Now this is totally different from Faroe Islands, which had nice houses everywhere, no projects to be seen. There were signs of people living here. Let me know in the comments if you know if this is a rough part of town or if they are moving people out of here. On the way to the city, I see a Danish-funded Greenland school. And here I get to the city center, which was surprising. I had no idea what to expect before coming here, but to see it this built up was pretty interesting. Obligatory, I head into the market to see what the prices are, and yep, you guessed it, everything is shipped over from Europe. It is very expensive. And this is when you know we made it big. Well, we're shipping Boardwalk all the way to Greenland.
A great success!
And we have the puffin, which is also famous in the Faroe Islands. Now this was a cultural trip. Centuries of Danish colonialism and intermarrying. Lots of the people I see in the city are actually partially white, where this guy, I think, is just full-on native blood. Thousands of miles away from the motherland, I am 2 tans away from looking like bro. What do you think? And here we have Greenland's latest summer collection. I checked out another bigger supermarket here. There's a local uncle. There were some Filipino workers here for their English skills. They also have some Spanish mixed blood, and it made it really hard to tell them apart from the locals. Here we have the Hans Egede Hotel with a great brunch spot view of the city. How to spot a tourist. Over in the distance, you see the mountains covered in cloud and mist. Everything just looks so mystical. There is a public bus line here. And this is a sign to park your huskies. Love the raven design here. Much better looking than the other projects. And this was funny. This guy was definitely telling Trump, hands off of Greenland. And now the highlight of the city, the Greenland National Museum. The Faroe Islands Museum in a much more developed city was honestly pretty bare. And this one, I just love how the museum preserves the culture, tries to tell it to foreigners like me. And in the beginning exhibition, there was a poster that had very negative connotations of colonialism. So hats off to them for keeping it real. The history of Greenland started with the first Asians to cross the ice bridge into North America, going all the way down into South America, and one heading all the way east to Greenland. Those are the Katuaq and doorsteps cultures thousands of years ago, and later followed by the arrival of the Thule people around 1000 AD, who are the ancestors of the modern Greenlanders, called Kalaalleq. Then Norse Vikings settled briefly in the south around the same time. That's the story of Eric the Red, who called this place green because in the southwestern areas where he first discovered, it was surprisingly lush at that time. But historians also believe it was just a marketing term to get people to move there to join his cause. But the settlements didn't last long and they disappeared by the 15th century. And this is a recipe book to show how many animals it takes to make one adult outfit. And this is a wood-carved map. From Africa to Bora Bora, from Alaska all the way to Greenland, the seafaring people really had some amazing knowledge. And yes, not only canoes, but dog sleds were the main ride here. And I'm honestly fascinated about how Asian people look here. Like that guy in the back can be my uncle. And one thing I like to do in places like Hawaii, Kazakhstan, and New Zealand was to see what the real locals look like before centuries of colonial intermarriage. Like that mask is scary how much it looks like me. The one most fascinating, mind-blowing, culturally interesting part of Greenland is exactly this. There are places that is the east and west of the world. The Middle East, Central Asia is where east meets west. But have you seen where west meets east? It is literally Greenland. You have the Asian looking people all the way in West Siberia, traveling the lengths of up to 3 Siberias to get here to Greenland. And the furthest west the early Vikings went was Greenland. So you literally had east meets west here. This is why Greenland was so high on my list as an anthropology nerd. Back outside with my mind blown, I wasn't feeling the modern art museum, so I came here to the Katuaq Cultural Center. You'd think a Danish city would have public Wi-Fi, but no. This place was the only place that I could find Wi-Fi, but you had to pay for it and they give you the Wi-Fi password as well as the bathroom password. The pictures and reviews made it seem like they had a lot to offer, but it was literally just a few artwork and that was it. The main reason why I stayed is traditional local whale. They had a fusion platter. The whale, it tastes like burnt cardboard. It was a really interesting cultural experience to taste what the locals lived off of for thousands of years. What an amazing 24 hours. Honestly, any longer than this, I'd be bored to death, but 24 hours was super impactful. So I pack my bags, get my taxi 10 minutes back to the airport, and think it's going to be a smooth ride onward to Europe. But next time, you're going to find out what a disaster this airport is. Thanks for watching. I'm just starting to record my adventures on YouTube, so subscribe and stay tuned for lots more.